आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। धर्मात्मा सत्यसन्धश्च रामो दाशरथिर्यदि पौरुषे च प्रतिद्वन्द्वः शरैनं जहि रावणिम्. Okay, so welcome back to the continuation of Ishvara to Swara in the journey of Ramayana. So while we are taking this journey of Ramayana, or when we are going through the journey of Ramayana, we must not forget why this particular journey is being taken. This journey is being taken solely for the purpose of understanding Ishvara to Swara in a better way. The connection between Swara to Ishvara, how everything, including Swaras, and not only Swaras, but everything as well, has only descended from Ishvara. So interestingly, in the last class, in the last session, we discussed about Taritrena Chako Yukta. It was slightly technical, I believe, last time around, where we discussed what do we mean by Charitrena Chako Yukta, why two words have been separated, Nitya Charitravan and Nitya Yukta. So both the words, they have been split up rather than saying Charitra Yukta or Charitravan. I mean, Valmiki did not have any depth of words like us. I mean, he could have made the word sound like Charitravan as well. But rather than using the word Charitravan, Valmiki has split the word and very conveniently, very carefully, he has installed it, saying that Charitrena Chako Yukta. Why I'm stressing more on this is the beauty of literature. This is the beauty of Sahitya. Where exactly should you compound the words and where exactly should you split the words? Sometimes splitting the words will add more value. Sometimes compounding them adds value. A true poet will know where to split, when to split the words, and when to compound them. Valmiki, in this case, when he posed that question, when he put forth that question, because it was Narada, he was speaking to Narada, you have to understand that each and every word, even the in between the pauses that we take, they matter a lot when you're speaking with a person like Narada, because he's a Maharshi, he's a Brahmarshi. So when you are speaking with a Brahmarshi, you have to be careful. Each and every aspect of your speech will matter. And with that finesse, Valmiki had posed that question, Charitrena cha koyuktaha. Now we understood that what do we mean by Charitra? Kulachara. So that we have to see in the example of Ramayana. We have to pick an episode from Ramayana where we can highlight the Kulachara. Uh, Achara is something that has been, that can be described as the thing that we do. Charati iti charaha. Charaha eva charaha. Okay. So that which is done is called as charaha. And it should be done in what way? Asamantat charati iti acharaha. It should be comprehensive. So our comprehensive activity is called as achara. So if we have to give a literal meaning for the word achara, then the meaning for the literal meaning of the word achara would be comprehensive action. So many a times we read these lines uh, in newspapers or maybe TV channels and all. How should we present it? It should be in a comprehensive action. So their action was insufficient or inadequate. Most of the times, what happens is our activities or the work that we do, the efforts that we put are inadequate or insufficient. That should not be the case. Each and every time, our efforts should be 100%, should be comprehensive. It's not just about the efforts, but it's also about when we say it should be comprehensive effort, it should be achara. When we say it should be comprehensive, what all aspects are we taking into account? We are taking into account the entire lineage, the entire vamsha or the parampara, the tradition. We have to kind of respect that. We have to be reverential towards it. And at the same time, we also need to understand our responsibility. So if I set one foot wrong, that sets an example that becomes a precedent for the forthcoming generations. Therefore, the onus is always on every one of us to put the best foot forward rather than saying the best foot forward, which has been taken over by the management people. So I will say that you have to put the right foot forward, not the literally right foot, but you understood the correct foot forward every time we do. That is what achara means. This is the reason why the Dharma Shastras have claimed that achara prabhavo dharma. If at all dharma is evidently present, is uh, is existing evidently for all of us to witness it, how do we know that whether dharma is existing or not? What is the evidence of dharma? How can we witness dharma? There should be a way to witness dharma. Dharma can be witnessed only by achara. That is why achara prabhavo dharma. Prabhava means begins. Himavato Ganga Prabhavati, one of the fine examples in Vyakarana they give. Okay. Ganga begins from Himalaya. So Himavato Ganga Prabhavati. So where does this dharma begin? Where do we begin dharma? We can read all the volumes of history of Dharma Shastra. Okay. We can read all the smritis, Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, all the smritis, all the Dharma Sutras. We can claim ourselves to be the experts in Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastra to speak. However, as long as we do not put it to practice, it is not going to be considered as Dharma. It will not be known as Dharma. As simple as that. Therefore, what is more important for us is very simple. Achara is very important. And that achara describes charitra, our conduct, our behavior, our how we present ourselves, our presentation, our very existence depends upon how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, how we present, and that has a long-lasting impression, not just on the world but also on ourselves. Therefore, achara is so important. I mean, I can go on and on about emphasizing the importance of achara. Um, However, I'll take a small break because today's session is more about looking at Rama's example on how to set uh, or how to follow that charitram, how to follow that achara. We speak a great deal about dharma, and this is the actually existing problem amongst ourselves, especially amongst the intellectuals. They are very strong intellectually. They are very strong in Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra says that Atmanas Tushtirevacha. And you will come across such kind of very subtly articulated arguments as well. So Manu, in his Manu Smriti, has mentioned that what are the pramanas, uh, parameters of dharma. Vedo kilo dharma moolam smriti shile cha tadvidam and achara, sadachara. And then he finally mentions atmanas tushti revach. Manchanga to sapchanga, kind of loosely put across. So Atma Tushti, Atma Trupti, or Atma Santosha. So this is the idea that this is also considered as one of the dharma, one of the pramana for dharma. So the moment we say this, it becomes very easy for people to carried away, to get carried away, and also to move away from the Vedas. Because you can leave Veda, Smriti, Sadachara, all these things can be left. I can only hold on to Atmanas Tushti. This makes me happy, therefore, this is my dharma. This is dharma for me. That's exactly how Ravana defends himself. When so many people reminded him that you belong to such great Vamsha, you belong to a Brahmana Kula, you are one of the sons of Brahmarshi, why are you acting like this? He denounced it. He forfeited his Brahmanyam. He said that Rakshasana Mayam Achara. He mentions it. I can quote you from the Yuddha Kandam or maybe even Sundara Kandam as well. It appears in two places. When somebody questioned Ravana's interest or Ravana's inclination, including Sita, how come being a son of such great Brahmarshi or belonging to such great Kula, how come you are like this? He said that this is Rakshasanam Achar. What wrong did I do? Because Rakshasas are meant to kidnap women, abduct women, and marry. That is our nature. He had completely become that. Therefore, he claimed that he is a Rakshasa. He had already forfeited. He himself had forfeited. So those of them, those of intellectual people who are smart enough and who still have a soft corner for Ravana in their hearts, uh, Khan khol ke sun lo kind of thing. The person himself, uh, the accused himself, had forfeited dharma, had forfeited swadharma, had forfeited brahmanyam. So it makes no sense for us who are only representing him, or us, those who are trying to defend him, to claim that he was a Brahmana. He was not a Brahmana because he had forfeited Brahmanyam long ago. He considered himself to be a Rakshasa. So, what defines anybody? Action defines everything. So, Achara is very important. It is not sufficient for anybody to be just born in a great Vamsha. We all belong to the Vamsha of Rishis. But having been born in such great Vamsha, having been the descendants of great Brahmarshis, our actions, our achara do not align, do not match with that of the kula that we belong to. Therefore, it is very important for us to hold on to that achara. That is the reason why Valmiki has asked this question, that people could be of noble birth. Even in the Western culture, when it comes to political science and all these things, the earlier scholars, they have spoken about high born or noble birth. They consider that to be a virtue. See, when will noble birth be considered as a virtue? Only when you have subsequent achara to substantiate it. If that achara doesn't substantiate, if our achara is not aligning with where we have come from, or to which family, to which kula we belong, then the kula to which we belong is of no significance at all. It is of no use whatsoever. Rama belonged to Surya Vamsha, Rama belonged to the great Vamsha of Prajapati Brahma. Then he has to act like that as well. I am Gautama Gotrotpannaha. Okay, fine. Do you act like Gautama? Do you have in, an ounce of Gautamatva in you? If not, then how can we claim that? So we need to be very careful. And how can we reclaim now? Now let us forget about the problem. What is the solution? Where do we begin with the solution? It's a simple thing. We still have not been abandoned, luckily. So we still have our Gotras intact, isn't it? All of us have Gotras intact. So luckily, we have not yet been abandoned by the Gotra Pravartakas, by the Maharshis. So they still are benevolent enough, compassionate enough, generous enough to lend their good name to such descendants like us who are not into achara at all. Now it is our prime duty that we earn the stripes, as they say. How do we earn these stripes of being born in such and such Gotra? By practicing that achara. That is why charitrena cha yukta. That is why the words are split. There should be charitra. We should be aware. First and foremost, awareness, acknowledgement should be there that I belong to this great Vamsha. And then yukta, nitya yukta. How can I make myself completely immersed in it, no matter whatever the situation is? Okay. Now, I won't take much time by saying and repeating all these things. It sounds like a lecture. It sounds like upadesha to many people. So I'll refrain from giving that upadesha, and let us see an example from Ramayana, which highlights Rama's charitram or kulachara, how Rama practiced his kulachara to the fullest. Now, the context is very simple, very easy, and very popular as well. Kaikeyi decides that Bharata should become the king, even though it is against Kulachara. Why I'm taking this particular episode is because we will have multiple viewpoints to see what to do and what not to do. Both ideas can become quite clearer from this episode. So when Kaikeyi heard that Rama is going to be crowned as the next king of Ayodhya. She was forced to object for that, courtesy of Manthala. And then what needs to be done? How do you how do you let the king, your beloved husband, know that you are not happy with the decision that your husband has taken? And you can say it directly, but since the time of Ramayana, wives have always practiced maunam whenever they want to deliver a message to their better half. They have practiced maunam. Don't speak. If you don't speak, if a wife doesn't speak or shout, just for joke, I'm saying, okay, if a wife doesn't speak, it is very clear. It means that she is upset. It's as simple as that. And where do we find this idea? We find this idea evidently in Ramayana, where he was very happy after making that decision. So he wanted to deliver this news, this good news, to Kaikeyi himself. Even before he could deliver this good news to Kausalya, he did not even think about Kausalya at that point of time. Dasharatha wanted to convey this news to his most beloved wife, Kaikeyi. So he runs to her to deliver this message, to tell her this. Nowhere to be found Kaikeyi at that point of time. So he got worried. Where did she go? And then he went about asking about her, and he finally found her. And then she's quiet, not very uh, vocal or bubbly kind of character that he usually used to find her. And then finally he began the conversation. The conversation went on. We know the story, and Kaikeyi broke the news. She demanded two things: 14 years of Vanavasa for Ram, and the crown, and Bharata to be replaced as the next king of Ayodhya. And Dasharatha was shell shocked, and he could not convey this message to Rama by himself. No way he could have conveyed this message to Rama himself. Uh, and Kaikeyi was not the one to budge at that time, and the negotiations failed. He cried, he begged, he swore at her, he kind of abandoned her. He tried all the tricks in the book, honestly, and none of them worked. She was adamant. So finally, Rama was brought by Sumantra, and Kaikeyi herself broke the news, and some conversation happened between Kaikeyi and Rama, where Kaikeyi wrongly thought that Rama was delaying his departure from Ayodhya to the forest. So in this conversation, we saw that Nahamarthaparo Devi Lokamavastamutsahe Vidhima Vrishabhistuli. So that kind of stance that Rama took at that point of time, all of this happened. And this was the time for him to go and tell the news, break the news to Kausalya. So he goes to Kausalya, uh, and he mentions the news to Kausalya. He says that now the king, my father and the king, the order is not like this. The order is the king who is also my father. It's not my father who is also the king. That's where people have actually forgotten. I'll quote you a shloka, then you will understand what it requires to be Rama. None of us are. The clarity is not there. We have our priorities always jumbled. So we think that Rama should not have abandoned his wife. Was Sita a wife who was also a Maharani, or was Sita a Rani who was also his wife? How do you want to look at it? What difference would it make? Does it make any difference? One person playing both the roles, but uh, but there will be some sort of balance, isn't it? Slight imbalance as well. One character or one uh, particular role would be played with more intensity, with more impact. So between these two, which one? If you get the answer, then you get the answer for all the common misunderstood questions and misunderstood concepts of Ramayana as well, including in this context. So Kausalya heard the news and she was quite saddened by Rama's decision. There was nothing to decide as such for Rama, at least. Rama did not think that he is in any way entitled to decide. But Kausalya thought, and more than Kausalya, Lakshmana thought that Rama had a golden opportunity to decide. It's okay, Kaikeyi has told you to, or Kaikeyi and your beloved father. That's how Lakshmana spoke at this moment to Rama. And that is quite evident even to this day when people are angry at somebody. Okay, even if they are relatives. Okay, it usually happens between the fight between the spouses. If they want to, if the wife wants to convey some message to the husband, they will use the child as the intermediary to deliver the message. So the to and fro happens via the children. So similarly, Lakshmana was at this moment, his anger was at its peak. So he did not want to call Dasharatha as his own father. He did not want to acknowledge that Dasharatha was his father. So that's why he tells Rama that your father might have told you to go to forest. It might have been his decision, but you also can change the decision. No, you have the ability to change the decision. And it all started with Lakshmana's conversation, actually. Lakshmana, he was quite outspoken, especially in this particular thing. And after he saw Kausalya weeping, obviously, what mother would be happy if their son is leaving the forest for 14 years? And that's a very devastating news for any mother. So when Lakshmana saw Kausalya weeping, so he could not hold it. Tathatu ilapantim tam Kausalyam Ramamataram Uvacha Lakshmano Dinas Tatkala Sadrisham Vachaha. Valmiki at his very best. He says Tatkala Sadrisham Vachaha. That's all. Not Sarvakala Sadrisham. It's not something that is that can be considered as evergreen words, or that can be known as words for eternity, or words that will remain forever. It is not that kind of idea that is represented in these words of Lakshmana. Therefore, Valmiki mentions that whatever Lakshmana spoke in this context, it was Tatkala Tadrisham Vachaha. Tatkala Tadrisham means at that moment, in that context, those words were worthy. Those words meant something. But if you take those words and put it to the litmus test of time, it is not going to stand the test of time, because only those words can stand the test of time which lead you in the path of dharma. If the words are not leading you in the path of dharma, then those words mean nothing. This is the truth. This is the hidden message when Valmiki says, Tatkala Sadrisham Vacha. And then he says that Tyaktva Rajyashriyam Gachet Striya Vakyavashangataha Viparitascha. First and foremost, Viparitaha. Viparitaha means, if I have to put it in very simpler terms in Kannada, Namappam Talkettide anta. That's the kind of message that he wanted to mention when he said Viparitaha. He has lost his thinking ability. He has forgotten his thinking cap. He has gone nuts, that kind of thing. And Vriddhascha, and he has become old. His senses are already diminishing, and he has lost that decision-making ability. Moreover, Vishayescha Pradharshitaha. And even at this age, that is the idea presented here. And he says that Vriddhascha Vishayescha Pradharshitaha. In spite of him being so old, he is not yet matured. He still is drawn by the materialistic things. Okay. Nripah kimiva nabruyat chodyaman samanmatha. And if such sort of a person, if such a person is also a king, then you tell me. And if he's come with desire, or if he's come with lust, and overcome with love towards one woman, what all can he not speak? He can speak all nonsense that he wants. is the intended message. And then he understood Rama very well. So he mentions that there is nobody, whether they are Swamitropi, Nirastopi, whether they are our friends or if someone genuinely hates Rama, they are like sworn enemies of Rama. Even if you ask them that do you find any flaws in Rama, they would have to answer no. But then how come you don't like him? Because he's so perfect. That answers most of us. 95% of us are not team Rama yet. You know why? Because that the chord is not striking with us. There is no Swara connection with Rama. The main reason is he is too perfect, too good to be real. Yeah, there's a phrase that we use, no? Too good to believe. So Rama is too perfect for us. Therefore, we can't fathom or we can't digest the fact that such a personality could have existed, such a perfectionist could have existed. And it is possible, is it even possible to lead a life with such perfection in the path of Dharma? That is what is holding us back from following the path of Dharma or following the steps of Rama. Okay. Anyway, coming back to the story. So Lakshmana spoke all these things and then he said that those who are weak, they are always hurt or they are always defeated. Now, this is not the time for you to be weak. Whatever, if they have announced a decision, you have to drag them to court. What do you mean that yesterday they called you and told you that you are going to be the next king of Ayodhya and today morning they are sending you to forest? It's not done. You have to hold them to their word. I mean, do you see any wrong in this logic? You can't, because he is right. Lakshmana is right in a way. Tatkala Sadrisham Vachaha. That context, if you think, the onus is not only on Rama to follow the orders of the king, the king can also be held responsible for the words that he has spoken. It is his king who gave his word. It is Dasharatha who gave his word to Rama that you shall be crowned as the Yuvaraja of Ayodhya. Does those words carry no value at all then? How come you are only focusing? Why are you taking all those things on yourself? And because it is making you look weak. You should not look weak. You should look strong. You should oppose them. You should file a case against them in today's context or in today's perspective. And after all these things, uh, at the end, these were the words of Lakshmana. Devi pashyatu me viryam, Raghavashchaiva pashyatu. May Kausalya see the courage of Lakshmana. May Kausalya witness what Lakshmana's paurusha is. Ramopi Raghavashchaiva pashyatu. Even Raghava, that is, even Rama may witness what Lakshmana is capable of. You don't know what I'm capable of, isn't it? Let me show you what I'm capable of. So, with these words, lastly, he says that Hanishye Pitaram Vriddham Kaikeya Saktamanasam Kripanancha Sthitam Balye Vriddha Bhavena Garhitam. He who is unfit to be old enough to be sitting on the throne, I'm going to kill that old Dasharatha, who also unfortunately happens to be my father. These were the words of Lakshman, very strong words. You don't hear such words, and you don't expect to hear such words from a person who belongs to such a great Vamsha, Kula. I have not forgotten what is the theme of today's discussion. The theme of today's discussion is Kulachara. This is totally against Kulachara if you observe. We should not speak ill of our elders. Some of the basic things that we were taught in childhood as well, isn't it? But slowly those things are loosening. Uh, they do not have that moral high ground anymore that they used to have earlier days. You should not speak ill of elders, no matter whatever they have done. Even if they have done unspeakable things, you should not speak ill of them. Why such kind of a respect? Because that was Kulachara. See, it takes only one slip to fall down. It takes only one push to fall down. It takes immense amounts of motivational videos for you to climb, or maybe motivational music to keep climbing the Everest. If you have reached a certain point in that Everest, all it takes is one push. If somebody pushes you, then you will go down. So to leave dharma, swadharma parityaga, is very easy. It comes very, very easily for us. But to follow dharma, to have that achara, that takes courage. That is very difficult to practice as well. Anyway, so after this, Kausalya also got some firepower. She became confident that now that Lakshmana has spoken, it would have put some sense back into Rama. So let me try to convince Rama. He quotes an example. See, Shushrushu Jananim Putra Swagrihe Niyato Vasanna Parena Tapasa Yuktah Kashyapaha Tridivangataha. It was somebody who belonged to the Kashyapa Gotra. And this Kashyapa, what he did was a very simple thing. He did not do any great, remarkable things, but he did a very simple thing. That simple thing was that he stayed at home. Okay. He stayed back at home, Jananim Shushrushu, and he took care of his mother. Jananim Shushrushu, Swagrihe Niyataha Vasan Putraha. Swagrihe, at his own home, Niyataha. Niyataha means without any taking any break. So he remained in his place without taking a break, and he took care of his mother. And Parena Tapasa Yuktaha. And he did that as a tapasya, as a great tapasya. And what was the reward that he got? Tridivangata. And he attained Swarga. She is quoting an example here. Okay. Why don't you follow the footsteps of such a Kashyapa who took care of his mother and still attain the highest order of things? And also, Yathaiva Raja Pujyaste. Just like how King Dasharatha is Pujya, is to be revered by you, is to be respected by you. Gauravena Tathahi Aham. Don't you think even I also deserve the same kind of respect from you? Is it dedicated only to the king? Are you such a chauvinistic person? Yeah. A modern day, if a modern day feminist would play the role of Kausalya, this is how she will articulate the question, unfortunately, isn't it? I'm just putting words to the existing ideas, that's all. But anyway, whatever it is meant as a joke. Please don't take it seriously. And then she asked this question that Tvam saham nanu janami nagantavyamito vanu. So if the king, your father, Dasharatha, can give you an order, and if you are bound by dharma to follow that order, then even I am also equally powerful, or equally I also have equal rights to give you an order. So my order is stay back home, take care of me. That is my order. Which order will you follow? How come you cannot follow? How come you can follow only Dasharatha's orders, and you cannot follow, or you wouldn't follow your mother's words? That is hypocrisy. That should not be. That is not dharma, isn't it? So she puts him in a spot. Okay. And then she keeps on saying this, and she breaks down, and all these things happen. And then uvacha ramo dharmatma vachanam dharma samhitam. Dharma samhitam vachanam uvacha. So the words that were filled with dharma sukshma throughout, each and every word, Hindi mein they say that उससे टपकता था, धर्म से टपकते हुए शब्दों का उच्चारण किया. If I have to translate it in a very rogue language, it means that otaprot tha. It was filled with dharma. The next few words, the next few shlokas that you see, and this is basically from the 21st sarga of Ayodhya Kanda that I'm quoting. And if you read from shloka 29 onwards in the 21st sarga, of Ayodhya Kanda, you will see how beautifully and how deeply Rama stood for dharma. What is Kulachara? How one needs to understand Kulachara, not only understand the Kulachara, because mere understanding is not sufficient, but how to put Kulachara to practice. Here it begins. So he says that Nasti Shakta Piturvakyam, Nasti Shakti Piturvakyam Samatikramitum Mama, Prasadaye Tvam Shirasa, Gantumichhamyaham Vanam. Okay. I do not have the power to overcome the words that have been spoken to me by my father. Nasti Shakti. I do not wield such kind of a power or such kind of courage that I can overcome the words that my father has spoken to me. Then he gives Kausalya gave one example of Kashyapa who went to Swarga. Now look at Rama. He quotes two examples. First one is ऋषिणा च पितुः वाक्यं कुर्वता वनचारिणा गौर्हता जानता धर्मं कण्डुना च विपश्चित्. There was a rishi named as Kandu. Kandu was the name of the rishi. So he was a vanachari. Vanachari means he used to roam around the forests. And Piturvakyam Kurvata. His father had given some task to him. And following the words of his father, adharmam athva dharmam janata, because he knew what dharma truly meant. Dharmam janata gauhu hata. So he actually killed a gauhu. He actually he killed a cow, basically. So that's a huge thing, isn't it? So if such is the nature, then how can you claim that rishi knew dharma? Because your father, biological father, he who gave birth to you, he occupies the highest position because he is the one who gives you the mantropadesha. He is the one who gives you the upadesha. He who gave you life. Okay. So he occupies the highest position in your life. And if he has given you some order, some task, then that occupies the highest position. And nothing, the consequences would not matter. Even though Gauhu Hata, even though Hata Gauhu, even though the cow was dismissed or cow was killed, but he knew Dharma. That is why he is called as a Vipaschit. Vidvan Vipaschit Doshajna. He is Vipaschit because he can see the threads of Dharma, how the Dharma Tantu is there in everything. And we fail to see this Dharma Tantu. Whenever there is a achara that we have to follow, whenever we are following something very diligently, it is important for us to have that view which goes beyond the actual happening. The trick is not to see what appears on screen. The trick is to see what lies beyond it, not just between it. So reading between the lines is not going to be sufficient. You have to read beyond the lines as well. That is how a Kavi truly earns the name for himself as a Kavi, because he is Kranta Darshi. Kranta means that which is beyond the reach of the common eye, that which meets our naked eye. It is beyond that, the truth that is beyond that, the dharma that is beyond that. That is how he becomes a Krantadarshi. And if such a Krantadarshi mentions something, if he does something with, the complete awareness of dharma, so even if it is an akarya, even if it is something that shouldn't be done, even if it is a prohibited activity, if the father has told you, if your father has given you an order, then you must do it. See, I know this must be taken with a pinch of salt. You can't apply this directly to today's perspective or today's scenarios. Some sort of discretion is required when we try to interpret these sort of situations. Uh, we have to have the awareness of dharma. And he should be Acharavan. Pita, if he is Acharavan, and if he gives you an order which, or if he gives you a task which is basically Akarya, which is basically prohibited activity, and even if you do it, it will be dharma for you. It will turn out to be dharma for you rather than turning out to be an adharma. If the father is not like that, if the father is not acharavan, but he is an anacharavan, there is no achara at all. And he has given an order to you. And if you follow that order, it is of no merit to you. It will not bring any merit to you whatsoever. Classic example, Prahlada and Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was his father. Did he disobey his father? Simple question. Yes, he did. He did disobey his father because his father asked him to discard all the devatas and discard the Parabrahma, Vishnu, all these existences and all these divinity. And he wanted him to accept. I mean, Hiranyakashipu wanted his son Prahlada to accept himself, accept Hiranyakashipu as the supreme. Now, if he spoke in the sense that Aham Brahmasmi in the true Upanishadic manner, if he spoke, if Hiranyakashipu had spoken in the true Upanishadic viewpoint, then I'll tell you there is no way on God's green earth that Prahlada would have disobeyed his father. But Hiranyakashipu did not speak in the Upanishadic manner, did he? He spoke in an arrogant manner. He spoke in a very shrewd and very low level arrogant manner, where he claimed himself to be the supreme. It's not that he was actually supreme or he had experienced that supremeness. No, it was not that experience which spoke or which came out as a rishi's vakya. It came out more as an arrogant line. So there lies the dharma sukshma. There lies how to determine, how to discern. That is where viveka comes in hand. And what is the principal ingredient required to develop that viveka? Dharma, obviously. If you know dharma properly, then even if it is a prohibited activity that has been told to you by a rishi who is a brahmajnani and who also happens to be your guru, who also happens to be your father, then even if you follow, even if you step on that prohibited activity, it is not going to cause any adharma to you. It will only cause dharma. This is one example. Second example is asmakantu kule purvam. Why should we go elsewhere? Asmakantu kule purvam. This is where the kulachara gets highlighted. Okay. Sorry, I'm taking a little bit water break in between just to sip a bit of water because it's not only tiring to speak, but it is very tiring to speak looking at only my face on the screen. You have no idea how difficult it is to speak, how difficult it is to get inspired looking at the same face and speak. Okay, so I'm just I'm put off, to be honest. But if at all it is getting delivered to the participants, ఎందరో మహానుభావులు అందరికీ వందనములు. I honestly tell you that you people are the ones who could be the true and real judges, because I don't know how I'm pulling this off. Maybe it is all running on uh, the fuel called as Ramayana. That's all. Because it is Ramayana, it might be coming out, or it might be making some sense. Otherwise, it is very difficult to speak. Just by it is like looking at the speaker and looking at the mirror and speaking, like how we used to practice speeches back in those days, childhood days. Bhai or behno, keeping a piece of paper and practicing it in front of the mirror. It just seems like that. So maybe you will hear me repeat few words again and again and all these things. Anyway, unnecessary advertisement in between is what you might think, but this is a very necessary point that I wanted to make. So we keep moving on. So next example, he mentions that we don't have to look elsewhere. We don't have to draw examples from some other place, some other vamsha. Asmakam tu kule purvam. Even in our own kula, in our own vamsha, in our own family, sagarasyagnaya pituhu khanadbhis sagaraihi bhumim avapta sumahan vatha. So are you not aware of the fact that Sagara's sons, 10,000 of them, not one or two, 10,000 of Sagara's sons, the great king Sagara, he asked all of his sons to go and search for that Ashva. And in the search of that Ashva, they had to dig up the earth in all directions. That's how this entire world covered with water. You know the story how Gangavataranam happened, Bhagiratha, etc., etc. Bhagiratha, by the way, belongs to Rama's Vamsha as well. Many of you might know. So Sagarasya Agneya Pitu. So Sagara gave them an order saying that if you have to dig the earth, dig. If you have to go till Patala, go till Patala. I don't care. I want my Ashwa. That's all. So they took that task. I mean, they took the words of their father so seriously, and they dug up the entire earth. And did they not meet with an unfortunate tragedy? What was the unfortunate tragedy? They were all burned down to ashes by Kapila Maharishi's Krodhagni. That was an unfortunate end. What wrong did they do? This is most probably one of the questions that we also usually tend to ask in our family. If some tragedy strikes us, or if some misfortune strikes us, what wrong did I do that this has happened to me? I have I have been a very good person. I have been compassionate. I have been generous. I have been kind. I have been polite. I have been truthful. I've been hardworking. ಯಾರೋ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಪ್ಪಿಗೆ ನಾವ್ಯಾಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅನುಭವಿಸ್ಬೇಕು? See, when it comes to suffering, we disown our own ancestors. It's very wrong, isn't it? The same people, you should listen to them when they act and sound humble. ಅವ ನಮ್ದೇನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ತಂದೆ ತಾತ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಇದು, ಅವ್ರು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಕೊಡುಗೆ ಇದು, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯವರಾಗಿದ್ರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾವ್ ಇವತ್ತು ಹೀಗಿದೀವಿ. ಅವರು ಒಳ್ಳೇದ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಕಾಯತ್ತೆ. ಓಹೋ. And we have this idea that whatever good I do, it will be carried on, it will protect my children. But at the same time, it is not just the good things, the bad things will also go to them. But we don't want to keep an eye on that. And very conveniently, we tell that we want to disown whatever our ancestors have done. That's very bad. So that's why Rama is quoting this. In our own Vamsha, in our own Kula, we have seen that without any of their own mistake, none of them committed a mistake on their own. It was not their intention to dig up the earth. It was not their intention to go around the world and do this Khananam of Prithvi, but they did. Why did they do it? Because of Pitur Nideshat, because of their father's orders. And did they not meet with Sumahan Vadha? They did meet with great Vadha. But even if they met with such an unfortunate death, we think sometimes that death itself is the end. Death is never the end point. But you see that all of them gained moksha, isn't it? With the touch of Ganga, they gained moksha. How wonderful is that concept? How do you connect the dots? It means that it may take a while for dharma, the kulachara, the achara that you have performed, it may not give you, it may not fetch you the required or the desired or the deserved outcome immediately. But definitely it's not about immediate results. It's not about immediate outcomes when it comes to achara, when it comes to dharma. It is about the niyatattva. It is about definiteness. It is definitely going to give us or fetch us that outcome. That is the power of dharma. That is the power of achara. That is the power of following kulachara. We might not get the outcome at this moment. That shouldn't demotivate us. That shouldn't deviate us. That shouldn't make us insanely crazy to leave that behind. You don't disregard or you don't disown the achara. Keep continuing with the kulachara. One more example. Jamadagnyena Ramena Renuka Janani Swayam Kritta Parashunaranye Piturvachana Karana. Jamadagni gave an order to all his sons. Slit her throat, chop off her head, Three of them did not do. Rama, he took his axe without thinking twice. It was not calculation. Okay. Elder brother did not do. Second one did not do. Third one did not do. Maybe if I do, my father will write all his will to me, all his asti to me, all his wealth to me. That was not the intention behind Parashurama's act. Parashurama did that because he followed the words of his father, as clear as daylight. Now, why these three examples have been given by Rama? He mentions it. Etaihi anyeshcha bahubhirdevi devasamayih kritam piturvachanam aklidam karishyami pitur. So not only these three examples, but there are many such examples that I can quote where so many stalwarts, so many legends, so many great men have followed the words of their father without asking a question. Do you think I am setting a precedent for that? I am not. Okay. Nakalvetan mayaikena kriyate pidrishasanam. This is not like I'm the only one who is following the words of his father. Why? Yetairapi kritam devi yemaya parikirtitaha. I quoted you so many people, 10,000 sons of Sagara. They followed the words of their father. Kandu Maharshi followed the words of his father. Parashurama followed the words of his father. Am I the only one who is following the words of my father? No. Why are you pinpointing only on me? It's not that I'm trying to set a trend, trailblazer kind of attitude. I'm not doing any such thing. Naham dharmam apurvante pratikulam pravartaye. I'm not acting anything. I'm not practicing any dharma. Here the word dharma means achara. I'm not practicing anything that is pratikulam, that is against dharma, that is against kulachara. I'm not doing anything that is against dharma or kulachara. Remember this line. Naham dharmam apurvante pratikulam pravartaye. I'm not initiating any pratikula dharma and apurva dharma, a new one, a new trend kind of thing. I'm not starting that. Then what are you doing? He mentions this. Another bold in gold. Okay. Words that needs to be put in gold in bold. Okay. Purvairayam abhipretaha gato margo nu gamyate. Ayam purvaihi abhipretaha. This is their abhipraya, sorry. This is their abhipraya, and this is their abhipreta by them. I want to explain, I want to take a while to explain the word abhipreta, how strong this word abhipreta is, and what does it mean, and what does it denote, and what does it deliver in this context. Abhi means 360 degree. Abhi means abhitaha, completely, comprehensively. Okay. Prakarshena, with profoundness. Okay. Completely and profoundly. Itaha. Itaha means walked. Okay. In gato is the dhatu. Okay. Abhi prakarshena, abhitaha prakarshena itaha. Gataha ityartha. Acharitaha ityartha. Itaha gataha charitaha. They have walked it. That is why this is Purvair ayam abhipretaha. Ayam pitruvakya paripalana rupam karma purvaihi abhipretaha. Okay, this is much easier for me to explain it in Sanskrita, but anyway, I will bring it down to English. Ayam here refers to this particular thing that we are discussing about. Pitruvakya paripalanam. That is the major thing. And this Pitruvakya paripalanam is not something that Rama himself has claimed that this is not something that I am doing out of the blue. I'm not doing something magnificent that nobody else has done. No. This is something that all the previous ones have done. Purvaihi means the predecessors, the previous ones. Ayam, this following thing, following the words of their father. Abhipretaha, they have done it with profundity. They have done it with complete conviction, 360-degree conviction. And they have walked that path and they have attained greatness as well. Do we not remember them? Do we not remember Parashurama? Do we not remember Sagara's sons? That is why it is called as Sagara. The reason why it is called as Sagara is to always remember the fact that who are the ones who were responsible for this birth of Sagara. It is Sagara's sons. Are they not remembered even to this day? Therefore, Gato margo anugamyate. I hope you understood the term abhipreta. Even though the word preta is there, if you split it, abhi and preta, you're not supposed to do that. Okay. Abhitaha prakarshena itaha abhipretaha. That is how that word needs to be understood. Abhitaha, comprehensively, completely, thoroughly, properly. Prakarshena, profoundly. Itaha, gataha, charitaha, follow, done. Okay. Purvairayam abhipretaha. Therefore, what I am doing here, gato margo anugamyat. It is always about anugamanam. Okay. You have heard about the word sahagamanam, isn't it? It's a very popular word. If you have read some history books, some fancy things, and the scholars would have written, okay, sahagamana paddhati, sati paddhati, sahagamanam, going together. So similarly, we should be focusing on anugamanam. Anu means to follow. Gamanam is to move. We have to always follow and move. Now, this is the right time for me to bring a comparison. Okay. How logic works these days with our minds. Okay. We'll keep this entire context on one side, that Kula, the entire parampara, the entire Vamsha would have followed something. Relentlessly, they would have followed something. See, throughout Raghuvamsha, all of them have followed one achara. What is that? To follow the words of their father. Nobody has disobeyed their father ever. It is not that Rama set forth the trend. It is not something that is taking away the credit from Rama. People think that if you start new things, if you become a trendsetter, you get the credit. No, 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 no. I'm sorry to say this, but you don't get a credit to become the trendsetter. You also get the credit. You equally get the credit. In fact, you get more credit if you follow the trend that has already been set. Because to follow a certain framework requires discipline. It requires hard work. It requires attention, focus, and all these things. And in the name of trend setting, in the name of making our own path, paving my own path, and creating my own journey, my memories, etc., etc. In this nonsensical pursuit, we forget the framework of dharma. So we don't have the complete understanding of dharma, and based upon the whims and fancies of ourselves, we tend to go wherever it takes us, wherever the wind takes us. That's not how actually trend is set. You see Rama, Kulachara, so perfectly, so finely, so minutely he follows Kulachara at every given point of time. This is one such example where he himself has quoted the reasons and he has quoted the examples. And through those examples, he is setting this. He is following that. That's why he mentions Gato Margo Anugamyate. Anugamyate means follows. And I'm only following what the great men have already walked. I'm walking the path that great men have already walked. I'm not creating a path of my own. That is what dharma is. Okay. Now, you hold all these things in one place. I'm sure that this is still not yet convincing. Because for some people, there could be plenty of practical challenges in following few things. When you do not have a certain reference point, when you think that this is not going to work. धर्मद ಬಗ್ಗೆ प्रवचन ಕೇಳಕ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. धर्म के बारे में हम प्रवचन सुन सकते हैं. धर्म के बारे में ग्रंथ लिख सकते हैं, ग्रंथ पढ़ सकते हैं, उपन्यास हम सुन सकते हैं. ये सब हम कर सकते हैं, right? But when it comes to practicing dharma, I think there are some practical challenges. We have to acknowledge some no, I will shoot myself before I speak such words. But there are no challenges, okay? The challenge is here. Because I'm crippled here. Intellectually, I'm crippled that I do not want to follow. When a khoklapan, as they say in Hindi. वो अंदर एक खोखलापन है. Emptiness is there within us, just like the papaya tree. It looks so huge, so big when it grows tall and all. You know how easy it is to break the papaya tree, because within it there is no sattva, there is no stuff. It is not strong from within. We follow dharma like papaya tree. We are like that. We are so feeble. We look grand. Okay. Isari Varamahalakshmi, we spent 1.5 lakhs for just a decoration. That is not going to define what dharma you are following. That is not what is going to define your achara, your kulachara. But anyway, I don't want to comment more on that. But you see how we are placed. And most of the times, this is the conclusion that they come. Anybody, 95% of the time, people come to this conclusion that Ramayana is okay, Rama's character is fine, we can do Rama Bhajan, Hare Rama, we can do, okay, Rama Koti Japa, we can do Rama Koti Nama Yajna, we can do all these things we will do. But when it comes to following Achara, I think there are some practical constraints. I'll shoot you if you ever think like this. I'm sorry. I'll shoot myself if I ever have to think like this, that there are some practical constraints for me to follow dharma. There are no practical constraints as such. It's all in the mind. Everything is in the mind. I do not have that conviction yet. I don't have that 100% confidence yet. I'm not deeply rooted in dharma. That's why my feet are trembling. It's not the fault of dharma. Dharma and achara doesn't have any loose ground. They are firm. My feet are trembling to put my feet down in the achara. I'm not ready to practice. I can't put the blame on dharma for that. I can't put the blame on time for that. Oh, times have changed. What times have changed? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Okay, fine. Keeping all these things in mind, see, when we say you have to follow, people think that it is inconvenient, or it is not such a good concept. Okay, you have to, because we hear so many motivational talks, TED talks, and all these things. You are the master of your fate, and you are the driver of your ship, the commander of your ship, kind of stuff. I mean, you drive your own destiny, you create your own destiny. They sound so fanciful, isn't it? So, in the midst of all these things, one that belongs to the modern era, Game of Thrones. I'm going to quote a small episode from Game of Thrones. I think it was in the first or second season, I guess. I'm not very sure about the season, but it doesn't matter. Lord Commander Mormont, that was his name. Okay. His name was Lord Commander Mormont. And they were distributing what role should be given to the new people who have joined the wall, the defense wall. So there is this protagonist character, Jon Snow, and he was good in fighting, but he was not named as a ranger. He was not given the job of a ranger, but he was given the job of an apprentice. He was told to tend to the Lord Commander, basically a servant. And he was upset with that. Then some friend, actually, his name is Sam, he gives some sense. He put some sense into him. It was not convincing enough for him. That Suhrit Samhita did not work out for him. Of course, Prabhu Samhita did not make any sense to him at all when he was said that you are going to be doing service to Lord Commander. He did not agree with that. The friend's words, the Suhrit Samhita, also did not matter. But in a certain event, he understood. And the Lord Commander himself tells him that if you want to lead one day, you have to learn how to follow. Okay. You go and speak these words to any Game of Thrones fans, they will get thrilled. Okay. Keeping the thrill aside, what is it showing? So if you want to be a leader one day, what we need to do is we need to follow. Anugamanam is important. So if we are not focusing on that anugamanam part, then we will never be guru, or we will never be the leader. One quick quip on this is we call Bharatavarsha as Vishwaguru, isn't it? How do you think Bharata became Vishwaguru? By following dharma, by putting everything to achara, not leaving all the achara, but by following each and every achara, we became Vishwaguru. Okay, so these were the words of Rama. And Valmiki, he just mentions that how did Rama speak in this context? In this entire episode, how did Rama speak? Because if there was any one person who could have spoken about the significance, about the importance, and emphasize on Kulachara, it was only Rama who could have done that. Nobody else could have spoken with this much of conviction, with this much of confidence. Only Rama could have spoken. That's why he says, Dharme sthitaha dharmyamuvacha vakyam. Because he is firmly fit in dharma. He is firmly located, is firm-footed in dharma. Because Rama is firm-footed in dharma, dharmyam uvacha vakyam, he was able to speak the words of dharma. Yatha sa evarhati tatra vaktum. Like, is there anybody else to whom you can compare when it comes to putting forth the arguments or articulating the arguments on behalf of dharma? In the context of Rama, he said no. Yatha sa evarhati tatra vaktum. There is no comparison to Rama when it comes to articulating dharma. Only comparison that Rama has is Rama himself. Okay, that's how important Rama is. So we don't even have a second example. There's only one example that we have, and we have to hold on to that example firmly. This is what it means to follow Kulachara. And I told you, there are many such things where he mentions, he goes on about it, but I want to highlight one shloka which will kind of bring sense to the discussion that we are having. The order in which Kausalya also gave him an order. Lakshmana's words were also not illogical, but how come he heard only Dasharatha's words and how come he followed his father's words? Was he that important? Is there no value for mother and her words at all? Is it how Bharatiya society, is this how Indian society has always treated her? Don't go there. Okay, you're misleading people. You're taking it out of the context. It's not about disrespecting mothers or ill-treating women. That is not the intention here. The intention is quite clear. See, Guruscha, Rajacha, Pitacha Vriddha, Krodhat, Praharshad, Athavapi Kamat, Yadvyadishet, Karyamavekshya Dharmam, Kastam na kuryad anrusham savrittihi. This should put all our doubts to rest forever, to rest in peace, all the doubts that we may have regarding following Kulachara and Dharma. Who gave you an order? Guru. Who is he? Who is Dasharatha for Rama? See, try to look at Dasharatha from Rama's eyes for a second. Not from anybody's eyes, not from your own perspective, not from your favorite Kadambarikara, from Upanyasakara, your favorite author's perspective. No, shoot all of them. Look from Rama's eyes. This is how he sees his father. This is how he sees Dasharatha. First and foremost, Dasharatha is a guru for him, Guruscha. And then he is a Raja, Guruscha Rajacha. And then Pita. Then he is my father. And lastly, Vriddha. He's an old fellow. He has enough experience. And he is my father. And upon that, he is my king. And beyond that, he is my guru. Now, would we dare to disrespect the guru's words? Do we dare to go against the words of a king? Or do we dare to go against the words of a father? Maybe we will, because we don't have that much value towards our father. But when you see the father, or when you see the Pita, when you see Dasharatha from Rama's eyes, Guruscha, Rajacha, Pitacha, Vriddha, in this order. And then he could give you an order. But it should make sense, no? This is the argument usually people say. I mean, I agree. We have to respect our parents. We have to respect our father. I'll do all of that, but my father also needs to speak some sense. Look at the next line. Krodhat. Even if your father tells you to do something out of anger, praharshat, out of immense happiness, where he might not be thinking. It is not your place. It is not your job to discuss whether he was angry, whether the words that he spoke came out of anger, came out of extreme happiness, or karma, just like that. His whimsically, the father had spoken something. Even then, krodhat, praharshad, athavapi kamat, yad vyadishet. Whatever he orders, whatever he speaks, dharmam avekshya karyam. You should look at the dharma. What should be the thing that we must be looking at in this context? When we say kulachara, when we say nitya yukta and nitya charitra, what what drives us consistently in achara? What keeps us consistent in achara? Dharma avekshya. Dharma. Only dharma keeps us consistent there. So dharma avekshya karyam. Yad vyadishe tat karyam. Whatever is being ordered must be done. Yad vyadishe tat karyam. How? Dharma avekshya karyam. Look whether it is dharma or not and do. It should be dharma. It will be dharma. Because if you have remained strongly in kulachara, then you will have a proper understanding of dharma. If you are not deeply rooted in kulachara, then you will not have any proper understanding of dharma, isn't it? As simple as that. Therefore, dharmam avekshya karyam. And he asked this question. He poses the question back to both of them, or to the world, to us, that kastam na kuryat. Who in this world wouldn't do anrishamsa vritti, who have followed their kulachara properly, who have adhered, who have subscribed, who have dedicated themselves to the kulachara, who will not do this? It means that all of them will definitely do it. Okay. Now, this brings us to the closure of one of the uh, finest conversations that you will find in the entire Ramayana. The conversation that happened between three people who were all there in that moment, in that circumstance: Rama, Lakshmana, and Kausalya. And Rama gave this answer. Uh, so when he put this line as his concluding remarks, Natena Shaknomi Pratujnyam Imam Nakartum Sakalam Yathavat. So therefore, I am not able to overcome the decision, overcome the words that my father has spoken. So these were his concluding remarks. This is how he uh, concluded it, saying that it is my paramount duty to follow the words spoken by my father. That is Kulachara. So next time when you hear Pitruvakya Paripalaka Rama in bhajan or in Sangeeta, wherever you hear the word Pitruvakya Paripalanam, remember that Pitruvakya Paripalanam is a Kulachara. It is an achara. It needs to be done convincingly, needs to be done comprehensively, it needs to be done profoundly. Because Purvai Rayam Abhipreta, because it has always been followed by the predecessors, by our ancestors. So there is no room for any mm, any wrong examples, or no room for creativity that I'm going to set a trend. It's not about setting a trend, it's about following that kulachar. So those who are deeply rooted in following, those who lead are, are the best followers. Those who lead are the best followers. So if they don't know how to follow, then they can't lead. You see that system in the army, isn't it? You don't get to write an exam to become a major or a major general. You get to write an exam to become a soldier, maybe an officer, but you don't get to become the commander-in-chief of army just by writing an exam. So you, in order to reach that level, you have to pass through all these levels. So while passing through, you have to follow orders. That's the basic principle of any army, isn't it? So those who follow will lead. Those who do not follow will perish. So if we have to be led towards Ishvara, that is Ishvara to Swara for you. Okay. So if we have to be led towards Ishvara, it's a simple thing. Then what we need to do is we need to follow dharma. That's it. If we follow dharma, we will be led to Ishvara. If we do not follow dharma, if there is no achara, there is no way that it is going to lead us towards Ishvara. Each and every moment of our life, it should be ingrained in ourselves that this is dharma, this is the achara that I have to follow. And with pride, with conviction, you have to follow. Then things will happen. So thank you very much for this. I think sufficient time. 10 minutes is there, and there is one question. Thank you very much for getting a sense of your sessions. I think in the WhatsApp group, I guess there is a question. Okay, regarding following dharma. Rama saying he is not the only person following his father's orders, and the reference of Parashurama being Jamadagni always had this question. Look at this from the present moment as well as those times. Wasn't there any thought of anything being wrongly done? Why would it be there? There was no thought of that particular order or that particular activity to be looked as adharma or looked down upon that as something wrong. Because if we think, if we determine that this is wrong, then it will not be following the order at all. That is the reason why Kalidasa says that Agnya Gurunam Avicharaniya. Gurunam Agnya. So whoever the Guru is, there are 5 Gurus which we discussed in Vali Vadham. So the Gurunam Agnya is Avicharani. It is not subjected to discussion. It is only subjected to action, that's all. So if a Guru has given an order, whether it is in Treta Yuga, Krita Yuga, Dwapar Yuga or Kali Yuga, Yuga doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter. If Guru has given an order, you do it. As simple as that. I mean, I'm very sure that I just want to draw one comparison to Kali Yuga as well. How strong it will be for following the Agnya of Guru. I'm sure you have heard about Padmapada Acharya, Shankaracharya's Shishya. Padmapada Acharya. That's a fine example of following the words of Guru. He asked, he came, he ran. He did not think that, oh, this is a lake or something like that. And the same thing is told in Christianity as well, like a leap of faith or something like that. Even though that sounds more fancier, this particular idea is not less fancier either, is what I am trying to highlight. So therefore, the idea is very clear that we cannot say that it is all it could have been thought otherwise. Whether do we have to use our discretion? Whether it is no, we shouldn't. We have to follow, and if we have to remain strongly in our achara, then we have to do it without asking any questions, without worrying too much about what could be the consequences. I'm not saying that you should not think or you should not debate, but not before you act. You act. Again, I have to quote Kalidasa. He mentions that you see how Daivanugraham happens. So Daivanugraha happens in a different way. In the world, you will see that Pushpa comes first and then comes Phala, isn't it? But Daivanugraha works in a different way, or the things that Daiva creates everything for us. The Phala comes first and then you will, the effect is first given to us. Then we find out the cause for it. Or because in the world, it is always the other way around, isn't it? Cause and then the effect. You can see the cause in the previous moment, and immediate next moment you will see the effect. But here it is not like that. You don't see the cause at all. What has caused this? We don't know. But you look at the effect, and then you infer that this is the cause for that. Dharma is like that, or acharana of dharma, or achara of dharma is always like that. You see the effect, and then you will realize that, oh, this was the connection. That invisible thread that connects is dharma. It is the invisible thread that holds everything together. That's the importance of dharma. So, I know the answer might sound haphazard, but you can put it together to get the answer for the question. Yes. Yeah, correct. That's true. So following his father's orders to kill his mother was his dharma. However, did not Parashurama kill Kshatriyas? He did kill Kshatriyas afterwards. Again, see, the way we articulate it shows how we are looking at the story. It is said that following his father's orders means, when it is put in such sense, following father's orders becomes secondary, killing his mother becomes primary, grammatically speaking, right? But what is the point that needs to be taken is whether he killed his mother or not is not the point to be seen here. The point to be seen here is he followed the words of his father. That's where dharma lies. He did not kill actually his mother, isn't it? Because she came back again. It was a test. This is how dharma tests as well. So, I mean, when it comes to the modern context, we may not be able to mirror image that the context, because there are no Jamadagnis. The ones who tell you to chop off your mother's head is not a Jamadagni. At least you know that much. And your mother isn't Renuka either. So I'm just saying that neither the father is like Jamadagni, nor the mother is like Renuka, nor the sons are like Rama. Hence, we cannot mirror image the entire analogy into modern context. But what needs to be observed is that how did they achieve that? How did they accomplish that? Dharma is the point, because he followed his father's words. That was the only thing that was there in his mind. He did not worry about the consequences. He did not think about the outcome. That's what following dharma means, not thinking about the outcome and following what needs to be done or doing what needs to be done. Isn't that the essence of karmanyevadhikaraste as well? Yeah, that is a popular shloka that is told in a different context. But isn't that what we see in the Puranas, in the Itihasas as well, which has been followed? So therefore, that is what needs to be looked at. And again, see, we tend to use the words very loosely. So if we take a deeper look at all the killings of Kshatriyas that Parashurama did, do you think he actually killed them or he punished them? Which would be the suitable word? Which would be the apt word? Thank God we are not poets, isn't it? Or at least claimed poets, acclaimed poets, famous poets. We are not, fortunately, because agar poets ki ye halat hai, if this is the way we are going to use words, then we are done. Luckily, what should be the word? What idea do you think is the most apt one when we take a look at the whole picture? Look at the complete picture. In the grand scheme of things, was it a punishment given to the Dushta Kshatriyas? Was it Dushta Shikshanam, or was it killing? When we say killing, it is like, I killed a mosquito or I killed a cockroach. Was it that sort of killing, or Bakrid kind of killing? Sorry. Killing for whims and fancies, killing for the filling of stomachs. Do you think that's the way Parashurama killed, isn't it? It is not. He did not kill them for his, he did not kill the Kshatriyas as sport. He had to do that because it was dharma. It was the demand of the time. The time needed it. And why only Parashurama? Why not us? Because he had the idea of the grand scheme of things. Because more and more dharma becomes stronger in that, in us. I mean, the roots of dharma, when they become stronger and stronger, we get to see the bigger picture. We get to look at things in a larger arc. Now our arc is very limited because we don't have the dharma deeply rooted in us. I hope I've answered both the questions. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, we still have 2 minutes. If there are any questions, we can take them. Also, I think next week there won't be any class, I guess. And it can be announced here as well as later in the group as well, so that there won't be any class next week. So we'll continue in the third week of July.